It's your main man, Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives, first responder, responding to unnatural, artificial, man-made disasters. The Shine Doctors. Dr. Kanisha, the Get Life. Her RPG, her shine on RPG, I'm sorry. Her shine on RPG. And it's RPG, the rugged prophetic Holy Ghost of alien bedrock nation. What's important about the day, y'all? What's important about the day? What's important about yesterday and today? The 23rd. You know, we go by the name of Michael Jordan's Angels. So the 23rd was yesterday. I did a post with the greatest hip hop producer that I had the pleasure of introducing y'all to. Stillborn the Revelator. Stillborn the Revelator. Every Friday is Alien Bedrock Nation Day. And by the way, this is a track. It's a track that I pinned to my main man Still. I'm gonna drop it to honor. I'm gonna drop it just to let you know Still. And the joint that say deliver me. And I was inspired to go to the hymn. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply staying within, seeking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry, and from the waters she lifted me, now safe in mine. Some of y'all know my story. How my wife saved my life and delivered me. So when I say the master of the sea, a lot of individuals, they talking about God in their gospel music. But I believe God gave us our spouses to practice how to be one with God. I believe, it's my belief, that we're supposed to learn to worship our spouse first. It's God, in his word, God said, how can you love me who you don't see, and you don't love the person who you see? How you loving me and you can't love those who is with you? Like, how you gonna say you love me and I gave you a spouse to become one with, and you can't even properly love your spouse? How you gonna love me? It's my belief that our spouses was given to us so that we could practice. Practice makes perfect. And so I'm practicing worshiping. He said, husbands, love your bride as I have loved my bride. It's my belief that Michael the Archangel worships his bride, the Holy Spirit. It's my belief. And so I'm not talking about God when I say the master of the sea delivered me. I'm talking about my bride. So I was inspired on this song and the verse that I'm doing to this. I was inspired to go to the hymn. One love lifted me. The chorus go. One love lifted me. One love lifted me. When nothing else could help, one love lifted me. When nothing else could help, one love lifted me. That's the chorus of this hymn. The hymn is love lifted me. Our whole movement is one love, ING. So I'm saying one love lifted me. One love delivered me. One love lifted me. One love delivered me. When I say one love, once again, I'm talking about my bride. I'm not talking about God. I'm a master loving God and being one with God by mastering loving my bride and being one with my bride. That's my belief and my faith and the revelation that God gave me once I got up out the coma and my wife challenged me. What are you doing? We ain't finished. We haven't finished running this race. And the gap and the distance and the separation that was between whatever we had going on, whatever I allowed to happen, God was like, close that distance, homie. Can't talk about you love me, and I gave you the thing that completes you and makes you whole, and you haven't even mastered loving that. It don't even make sense to talk about you love me when I done gave you the perfect specimen to complete you, and you haven't mastered loving that being. Love that first, then come holla at me. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. That's what I believe the everlasting gospel is, the everlasting covenant is. One love, the marriage covenant. And I'm a master being one. And so that hymn, one love lifted me, one love delivered me. Once again, I was sinking deep in sin. So we do multiple verses. The challenge that my wife gave me when we was at Oakwood, when I was mired deep in sin, far from the distant shore, very deeply stained within, seeking to rise no more. My wife said, this ain't what I signed up for. And I had to make a decision. Stay in them streets. I had to make a decision. And it wasn't even a decision to make. And once again, I got the greatest producer, greatest hip hop producer that the world has never heard. And so to change that, I'll let you hear it again. Deliver me. I got 97 stitches to prove. So it's on paper, it's down. I just gotta memorize it and spit it for you. All right, so that's coming. But let me take you to the lineup. Let me take y'all to the lineup. We not playing no more, y'all. All right. We not playing no more. So on One Love, IMG, Hip Hop Neighborhood Games, the thing that makes our neighborhood games so special is broadcasting. Broadcasting. So I was one of the very first to broadcast like I was broadcasting on my YouTube channel. I've been broadcasting for some years now. Shout out to my peoples though, from my pop's church. Uncle Bill Morgan. Uncle Bill Morgan was one of the very first. And was one of the very first to encourage me to use a very specific platform, but more importantly, the hands-on person that I spent the most time with, that encouraged me the most and poured into me the most, George Bryant. It was George Bryant, PFA, royalty. He was heading up my pop's media team at his church in Camden, and then ended up at Pine Forge Academy, heading up the media team at the Pine Forge Church. And George Bryant poured into me and poured into me and poured into me and enabled me to be able to, this ain't working. This ain't working. I'm having a problem with my internet. It's not sharing it. All right, we're gonna quit sharing the screen. I'm gonna come back later, but and show you that screen. But I just want to go to down the lineup. Man, I need to be able to share these screens, man. I need to be able to share y'all this screen. Come on, man. Please work. Please work. So this is the problem. So I've been having technical difficulty with my setup at the crib. I'm gonna have to change some things around because it's not letting me do what I do. And that's why I haven't been broadcasting like I used to do. It's because my setup is totally different. The computer that I have is not conducive for what I do because it's not. The other computer that I had was a high-level MacBook Pro. So I need to go back to the high-level MacBook Pro because this computer is just not. These PCs, they're not made for production. They're not production level computers. They're just not. So in order for me to do it on the level that I want to do it on, I gotta go back to the setup that I was on. So that's cool. Let me just pull it up on my phone and go to it. Pull it up on this phone. So I posted the official website, the official company that my wife is the CEO of. By the way, tonight we're making a schedule. Um, we have launched. We have launched everything that we've been talking about. Um, those of y'all who have been looking forward to getting on payroll has been established. Of course, the first week always goes in the hole. So um, even when you're getting paid on a weekly basis, the first week goes in the hole. So following week, you get paid the very first check, and then each and every check will come weekly. All right. But what I was trying to show y'all was so on Friday on our website for Adonai Community Mission #1 LLC, I posted the speakers, and the speakers refer to during the One Love IMG neighborhood games. We have musical performances going on, but we also have motivational speakers and inspiration and motivation and empowerment weaved throughout the games, throughout the music, throughout everything that's going on during the games. We have speakers. All right. And so on the webpage, it shows you the core speakers that we have gone out and recruited, the permanent in-house inspiration, motivation, empowerment, the people who have inspired myself and my wife, the people who have empowered us, the people who have over the years, over our 30-year marriage, the go-to people that we have relied on for inspiration. These are the people that I put on the page. All right. And so on Friday, this past Friday, I wish I could show it to you, but the speakers for Friday are, first and foremost, my main man, Stillborn. We celebrating our 30-year anniversary of the Alien Bedrock Nation and the Two Edge Records, the album that we dropped. And this is so special because Stillborn's older brother, Charles Morgan, in the group we call him Millennium. So he is the one who really got me started studying the 1,000-year wedding feast because of his name. One day with God is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day with God. And so when Millennium took that as his name, and the more I started analyzing it, that's where the ITB came from. Because the only person that spent a whole day with God was Adam in the beginning. So because of Charlie, Craig's oldest brother, who is no longer with us, I believe he passed away at 35. So that's why this is so special with Stillborn. Because anytime anybody passes away, I have always, to honor our blood that is no longer with us, I've always tried to take the things that they instilled in me and make sure that the world knows that they are still living because now I am going to be the embodiment of what they represented. I don't know where I got that from, but from a little child when my cousin Sean got killed. From a little child, I told his grandmama, I told his mother, I'm Sean now. I'm your grandson. I'm your son. That's how much of an impression my big cousin had on me, that I felt a responsibility to carry his legacy. And same thing with Mill. He was so instrumental in our group. He meant so much. And what Craig and Charlie brought to Alien Nation, it can't be quantified. It can't, you can't put it into words. You can't, what they did in producing and propelling us to the highest level in the hip hop game during the golden era of hip hop. We weren't second best in any way, shape, or form. This is the high level that production that Craig and Charles Morgan was laying down, track after track, song after song. Like, I'm talking about line for line lyrics. I'm talking about stories. I'm talking about battle rhymes. Every phase and aspect of hip hop that could be mastered and should be mastered, they had already mastered it. All we had to do was add our lyrics to, like, what Craig and Charlie did. And now what Craig still does. The world has to. The world has to. In 2026, the world is going to see my brother Craig Morgan in the same light that I see him in, and better. There's no way that we're going to let this talent go to waste on the sidelines. I'm telling you. From the lyrics to the production to the concepts to the... And the rest of the lineup on Friday is crazy too. The other king that was at Pine Forge when my sister got there, or the year after. I think Dickie was there. David Caldwell. My sister got there at 1986. And Dickie graduated, I believe, 87. So, but on the singing level and the, like, same thing that Craig brings to the table when it comes to singing, David Caldwell. And then the third person in the crew, my main man, SPI, Baymac. Be about your money at all costs. And the reason I love that movement was because Wu came out with cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill. And I was already working on the Havila bills. So when I seen SPI's movement, be about your money at all costs, and I'm literally engineering and creating a Havila bill, Havila bricks, Havila coins, Havila chips. over with. So we got our own version. To one of the illest anthems that the world loves. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. So, yeah, Fridays is gonna be an unstoppable day. All right. So, um, well, most importantly, on Friday, I also dropped the flyer for the tournament. All right. I dropped the flyer for the tournament along with stillborn, and letting y'all know that these are the speakers that's going to be joining us. Once again, this is my wife. My wife is the CEO of the company, Adonai Community Mission #1 LLC. When I say we in the business of saving lives, we use the Good Samaritan's innkeeper model, and we do makeovers for individuals who have been traumatized by society, traumatized by life, traumatized by poverty, traumatized by crime, traumatized by exploitation, traumatized by the system. We call them slumdog pavillionaires, flipping the slums. One makeover at a time. We don't just make you over physically, in 4D, four-dimensional. And this has been my wife's vision. My wife's dream was to be able to make over the least of these, our brothers and sisters. So I've been telling everybody who would listen about how my wife challenged me years ago, looking at the Amway arena. She said, man, I would love to be able to just take over the whole arena and just put resources there and just bring all of the homeless people and all of the individuals who just got out of rehab and all of the individuals that need to get back on track and just give them a whole spot day. And so that became my mission from that day to this. And so now I'm launching the individual components to be able to do that. Underneath the umbrella of her company, Adonai Community Mission #1, which my mom, Evelyn Harris, who promoted on the highest levels the 8 laws of health, on the highest levels in the Allegheny East Conference, in a 50+ club for elderly individuals, to remind them of the 8 laws of health. That is the pillar of Advent health. That is the pillar of the Seventh-day Adventist health message. For 16 years at one of the most prominent conferences in the country, the Allegheny East Conference, all of the churches for 16 years, 50+ club, going church to church to church, getting the people 50 and up back in tune with the 8 laws of health of the Advent health system globally. That is the company that my wife inherited. And when my mom got sick, she's elderly, and they were talking about throwing her into a nursing facility because she was living by herself. And because I was 2 hours away from her, she's in Titusville, we way down here, pretty much in Kissimmee, pretty much Disneyland, and she's way up in Titusville. They like, listen, she gets sick like this again, we taking over power of attorney, everything, we throwing her in a nursing facility. So I started looking at the nursing facilities. I started scrutinizing and looking at the nursing facilities, and my brothers made an executive decision and got mom out of here. But I still kept looking at the nursing facilities, because when I started looking, nursing facilities and hospitals, when I started looking, the thought of my mom having to go into a Florida nursing facility or hospital, once I started looking, once they told me if she gets sick again, we can take over power because nobody lives with her. So I began looking, and what I found and the stats that I found under this company, nobody should have to be faced with those choices. So the hospital industry and the nursing facility industry, they need to step their game up, because I have too many family members around here. And if that's the way things go around here, where you say, oh, if your loved one gets sick again, we're going to commit her. Oh, not to those facilities that you have around Florida. So for the past 3 years, we have been looking into these facilities, and we have been documenting these facilities and documenting the cases of what happens to people when they go into these facilities. So now maybe they'll think twice about telling a family, oh, this is what's going to happen to your loved one. How many people hold these institutions accountable? Same thing in the Department of Children and Family Services. They're so overwhelmed. The caseworkers have so much, the load is so big that they can't even hold the facilities accountable where these children who are aging out. And that's what these institutions bet on. The regulators have too much load, so they can't get around and make sure and hold them accountable. That's why you have to have other outside groups that will come in and say, hey, have you looked at this facility? When's the last time you've stopped by here? They just told me that my mom is about to have to be committed. Well, when I looked into their facility, they had this incident and that incident and that incident. And have you guys stopped back by there since that incident? Have they corrected those incidents? Have they made the improvements? Has it gotten worse? How often do you guys check these facilities? Are they stamping blank checks from the insurance companies and all of that? Are you overwhelmed with your caseload? Can you even get to all of these facilities in Central Florida? So when our movement says no more trauma, we talking about, because the word of God also, there's a text about how we're to care for the widows and the orphans. The King of Kings, when he was walking the earth, he specifically said, listen. And he rebuked the people of the day for their treatment of the widows and the orphans. So where do the widows end up at when their husbands die? Or where do the widowers end up at? In these nursing facilities. So we have a direct commandment. But who is actually holding people accountable for the treatment of these groups that was on the heart of the Messiah? Who's holding these groups accountable? Who's checking on the treatment of the orphans in the Department of Children and Family Services? Who's checking on the widows or the widowers? Who's checking? He said, I will require an accounting. Genesis chapter 9. Who's doing the accounting? Adonai Community Mission, number one, LLC. Because Evelyn Harris dedicated her life. Her life. And then when she's well into her 90s. So when she now has a challenge and has been making people's lives better when it comes to health, she's going to just be thrown into a system that is just taking paychecks? Nah. Okay. That's one aspect of the company. The other aspect is the active therapy that we do on the highest level, that my wife does on the highest level. And then we're harnessing technology that's coming out under our kids. So when you take the years and years of experience that my wife has, and then the new technology that our kids who are going or who are studying in the same profession, and then when you merge those two together, the experience with the technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, motion capture pictures, 3D printing, gaming. When you harness all of these things, which our company is able to do, unlike any other company out there, because when I add my technology background to what my wife and my children do, that's where all of that other stuff comes together. And then you have the games, which my wife and my kids and all of it is known for. And so I said a while ago, the world has been focusing on men, and the world always focuses on men. But I came up in a family of women who dominated. My Aunt Julie ran track. My Aunt Libby was a basketball superstar. My Aunt Diane, if women played football in the NFL the way she knew the game, it's no question my Aunt Diane would have been a professional football player. My mom was a fighter, so right down the line with Layla Ali and all of that. And then the fifth, the oldest, Aunt Sheila mastered everything. She was supernatural in everything she did, everything she touched. I could see her being Serena Williams before there was a Serena Williams. I don't know what sport Aunt Sheila, but that's what I envisioned. That's what I envisioned a tennis superstar. So, because we had the courts right there by our basketball court, Shady Brook Park, you got the basketball courts, then you got the tennis courts right there. So, in honor of my Aunt Libby and my Aunt Libby, who moved to Illinois, and Kanisha's passion being basketball as well. I said these first 3 years when we launch, we're going to focus on women, especially basketball, because that's what my wife does. And then volleyball as well, because my daughter Dasia specialized in basketball and volleyball. My daughter Destiny specialized in volleyball and football. So I'm going to keep my word and keep my promise. And so we're going to put the women's basketball and the women's volleyball front and center, and the women's baseball front and center, starting with basketball. I also said that we was going to shoot the movie of Flojo and the story of the life around Aunt Julie's track prowess. I also said we're going to shoot the story of Uncle Butch. The story of Uncle Butch. Shaw University. They gave birth to Sean Hackett. He went to Shaw University. Superstar running back for Shaw. Came out in 1967 at the height of when they assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King, they assassinated Malcolm X, sent our peoples off to Vietnam. At the height of that, he still was able to navigate and make his way to the NFL. So pro recreation is all I know. But wasting our talent in pro recreation is the thing that I have changed. I've been telling people for years. Annually, we waste $12 trillion annually in pro recreation by not monetizing it annually. And that was just calculating revenue from the top two sports that we allow the NCAA to put a farm system on. And the only college sports that they went to the federal government, they went to the Supreme, and they put laws in place to make sure that people of color did not have a path straight from high school straight to the pros anymore. Because it used to be like that in basketball. They went to the court system to make sure that our people went to college first. Man, the only sports where you had to go to college before you could go to pro is football and basketball. Why? Because those are the two sports that bring in all of the money for the athletic program, so they can give scholarships and so they get billions and billions of dollars, TV revenue. Football and basketball foots the bill for the whole university. And so they made sure that we couldn't monetize our talents and skills individually and go straight to a pro platform. Because in tennis, you could be 16 and go to the pro. If you're good enough to play pro, you can go and play at 16, at 17. There's no laws that say, no, you got to go to college and then go pro. Same thing in golf. If you are Tiger Woods and you're 16 and you play like Tiger Woods, they're going to give you billions of dollars to come play pro. Why is that not the case with football and basketball? Because the university system could not survive financially without the football and basketball, March Madness, and the football pay for everything in college. You wouldn't have a college system without football and basketball. And if they make that much money off of the small amount of individuals that go to college and play, One Love IMG neighborhood game says, we're going to take all of the rest of the people in our community that don't want to go to college, but that play on that level, and we're going to pay y'all. It's like 16 times the amount of individuals that go to college and play sitting in our community that could play on the same level. Just like the And1 mixtape tour pulled up in the city and said, whoever can come out in this tryout and play and make this team, we're going to let y'all play in the game against the N1 Mixtape Tour. And so they would have a local tryout right there. And the dudes from the N1 Mixtape Tour, they was the judge. They decided who would make the team to play against them. And it would be thousands of our people from our community at every stop dying for the opportunity to get on the court and try out and prove. And that is what's happening right now. Every day, but from now up until the 1st of February, we're going to hold tryouts all over the country. All over the country, because you got to play in your local area. You got to play in your local area to get invited to the championship. So this is the invitational tournament to start the season, to launch the season. But the championship tournament is at the end of the season. And we do this 4 times a year, every 90 days. Every 90 days, we have the championship tournament where you could represent your neighborhood and prove that you got the best hip-hop neighborhood in the country in football, in basketball, in volleyball, in track, in no college commitment, no none of that. Are you the best in basketball? That's all we want. That's all I care about. Are you the best in volleyball? Period. Are you the fastest in the neighborhood? Period. That's all we care about. We don't care about no grades. We don't care about none of that. And most importantly, it's a school system, because financially more people have gotten scarred by getting lump sums of money and not knowing anything. So it's a school system, and the school is to teach you economics, PhD level economics and investing. I'm not about to give you no life-changing money. Just like individuals who go into the Air Force or go to NASA to fly them, they spend years on simulators. Just like NASCAR industry. You're driving a car at 200 miles an hour. They have simulators that you are in before you ever get in the car. A simulator just means life-size video games. Life-size video games that reproduces the speed of the jet plane. You feel everything that you would feel like you were in a jet, but you're in a life-size video game simulator. Same thing with the car. So when you crash in the simulator, you get to start the thing over and do it again and don't crash. And that's exactly what we're doing with each and every person that gets a contract. Until you pass the course, you won't get access to your life-changing wealth. And this is a real contract. Allen Iverson, salute to Allen Iverson. Reebok gave Allen Iverson this same exact contract. It's called an endowment fund. They gave him $900,000 a year annually for something like 30 years. And at the end of the 30 years, he got the lump sum that they put in the bank. I think it's like 65 million or 75 million something. And he just got that in 2025. Every year, let's say January 1st, every year, January 1st, they would give him the 900,000. So he had to learn how to budget his finances in 900,000 for 25 or 30 years. Now the 900,000 was just the interest that the 65 million was getting every year. So it was really only one lump sum payment of 65 million, but because they turned it into an endowment fund, an endowment fund gains interest. So every year they gave him the interest. Now, mind you, this is the Reebok contract. This is on top of the salary that he was getting from the league. So this was the money. This was the economics that taught him how not to, because he was spending he was blowing his whole check. And Reebok saw, yo, this dude is about to be impoverished. So they said, they could have just gave him another contract and just let him blow through the money. But Reebok instead taught him economics, gave him an endowment fund, made him the beneficiary of an endowment fund. And then somebody in the company was the trustee. The trustee controls and makes the stipulations of how much money goes to the beneficiary that they get to spend and when the rest gets released. And the trustee makes sure that they don't get any more than what was agreed upon. And so because of that structure, he learned how to manage his fund. So that meant when he did get the big lump sum, because he was able to manage 900,000, he could handle getting 65 million. That's our educational school based off of AI. All right. So we have 16 teams. I'm gonna read them off to y'all right now. 16 regional pools. That's what I want y'all to think about. Now, y'all could be from another place close to this region, right? And if y'all put together a team, and if your team is better than the 4 teams in that region, when the invitation goes out, we're inviting the best of the best in the country. For the sake of organization, we had to put down 16 specific pools. All right. So for instance, let me give you the 16 regional pools. You have California, which is a huge pool, but let's say you from the state of Washington, Seattle, let's say Seattle, Washington. It's hoods in Seattle. So if a hood from Seattle puts together 4 teams as well, all right, and they better than the teams coming out of California, and we're gonna come over there. We're gonna do a regional tournament in all of these places anyway before the large championship, to make sure that there's not any teams that's outside of the main pool that deserve a shot at being invited to the championship tournament at the end of the 90 days. But let's just go through all 16 regions. So then you have California, you have Nevada, then clustered together, You got Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana clustered together. That's one pool. Then you have Texas and New Orleans that's clustered together in a pool. Then you have Georgia, then you have Alabama, then you have Florida. You have New Jersey, you have Pennsylvania, you have New York, Maryland, Virginia and West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and then we have a pool, the world. Yeah, the world. Just like in the Little League, on ESPN, they had the Little League World Series. We got a pool for the world. In each one of our sports, we're going to have a pool for the world. And we're going to have four teams from four of the best teams from around the world. We're going to get to play in the world pool. All right, that's 16. And then 16 times 4 is 64. All right. So those are the regional pools. And every day we're doing tryouts leading up to the invitational tournament to start the ITB tournament starts the league. And then the championship tournament is the ITE, the ending championship, where you get the big payday, you get the bonus money, you get that sponsorship money, you get your video game contracts, you get your sneaker contracts, you get your fashion, modeling, endorsement deals. Everybody who plays gets a player contract, because once again, we're broadcasting. You get a player contract. But at the end, those who make it to the championship, you get rewarded for making it to the championship. That's the endorsement deals. That's that life-changing Allen Iverson money. All right. And the beautiful thing about this is it's not an adult league. We start at 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, 14 and 15. Then we got high school, then we got college, then we got pros. Then we got 50 plus club pros. Yeah. You heard, those are all of the groups. 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, 14, 15. High school, college, pro, 50 plus pro. All right. So once again, I'm going to read these pools. And so when we have tryouts, if you live in one of these states, if you live in an inner city neighborhood, then, and if you want to coach, if you got coaches around you or whatever, or if you don't have no coaches, you want to try out individually, but if you got a team and y'all already playing in AUs and all that, and y'all want to see if y'all could get on this N1 Mixtape Tour 2.0 and be the greatest hip hop, represent the greatest hip hop neighborhood in the country, and I welcome y'all to register as a team and try out as a team, and you could keep your team together. We begin in tryouts immediately. All right. And then for the broadcasting and for everything, all of the careers to supplement a professional. So you know how many careers the NBA and the NFL support. Once again, our games are 16 times larger than the NFL and the NBA and college sports. You combine them all together, what we talking about is 16 times bigger because of our age groups and because of the diverse amount of sports that we play in our communities at the highest level. And we have all of those under the same umbrella of the same team. So the Chicago Bears will have a football team, basketball team, volleyball team, track team, all under the same franchise. All under the same franchise. Once again, I'm gonna send this out to. So I've broken the professionals that I've gone to school with, who are into the entertainment industry and media industry. We have one pool of executives that we call the mastermind group. And then my wife and my children, who have been the cornerstone and bedrock of all of these programs, and our family members that have supported them throughout the years who do the same thing in their areas, in their neighborhoods and communities with recreation and sports and all of that. We're called the Masterpiece Physician Group. We got the Mastermind Group and the Masterpiece Physician Group. These are the executives that I'm running this enterprise with. My Full Sail individuals, my people from Pine Forge and Oakwood that went into music and media and graphics and all of that, they all fall under the mastermind group. And then those of y'all that we physically played on teams with, those of y'all that we were in drama clubs with and we were singing with and all of that, you are being recruited and invited to join our Masterpiece Physician Group as executives to help us launch this across the country. Of course, these are paid executive positions. And then from these two executive groups, we're hiring the masses across the country in a movement that me and ET created, inspiring individuals to own their own destiny financially. We have a conference called Just Own It, where we take individuals and we teach individuals how to open their own business and run their own business, and then become investors in whatever it is that their business niche is. And then we provide them access to what I call the 3% access network, individuals who are in the top 3% income money earners. And then ET created a program and two programs that I'm taking advantage of. One is called the Top Flight Assessment Coaching System. So I've rebranded it and made it my own, the Top Gun, Top Flight, Have Life Coaching. And then ET also has Get into the Top 1% in 21 days challenge, 21-day challenge. Okay. This is also something that I've taken advantage of. And we are taking people, any individuals who've been watching ET for years and all that, we like, okay, it's time to stop being a bystander, and it's a time to apply some concrete principles and go From where you are to the top 1% in 21 days, we challenge you. I dare you. All right. So we're going to take the masses through those two programs to be able to join our family financially. And then after you pass your courses, then when new groups come in behind you, then you can join our mastermind group or our masterpiece physician group as an executive to help us take people through the same process that you came through. We are the ultimate skilled labor, teaching people skilled labor and then teaching people how to create wealth through ownership, investing in yourself, investing in a business and a company, and then mastering the thing that you do. All right. So I gave y'all the 16 pools. Once again, California, Nevada, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana, Arizona, Texas and New Orleans, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, Virginia and West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and then the world. All right. And then we also have the daily schedule. So from here on out, we're going to follow the daily schedule. And this is the Golden Scepter Awards. All right. So this is the 2025 individuals that inspired us and empowered us. And we have a Golden Scepter Award in 2026 for these individuals. So at our ING neighborhood games, these individuals will be honored in tributes. And then these people will be invited to perform, to receive their Golden Scepter Award with a tribute from somebody from our communities that, just like in every other tribute, lifetime tribute awards, somebody comes up and performs the individual songs for them while they're being honored. Then they come up and accept their award. And then later on, they'll perform their own productions. It could be the same stuff, it could be new stuff, whatever they want to perform, they'll perform. They're being invited to be honored by us. And somebody from our One Love IMG family will do a tribute to their classic hits. And then we'll give them the actual 2026 Golden Scepter Award from us and let them perform at some point too. All right. So this is the lineup of who we will be honoring this year. And mind you, let me say this. These are the headliners on the day, but there are undercards that go along with these individuals. So any groups or any individuals that they did collaborations with, and it was a platinum smash hit that everybody knows and love, those individuals will be on the undercard for these headliners that day. But we only had a certain amount of room, so we couldn't put everybody that we acknowledge here on the paper. But during the ING games, the individuals that have classic hits with these individuals will be on the undercard. So today is the 24th, Saturday the 24th. So this says Beyonce, Nala, iciest park, and the spiciest park, Nas, hip hop happiest days, homecoming, lioness, queen, and Lion King tribute. So every Saturday night, we're gonna be honoring Beyonce. We call it the iciest park. And Nas, we call him the spiciest park. Hip hop homecoming, lioness's queen, and Lion King tribute. And then we have it's from Beyonce and Nas to Nipsey Hussle and Lauren London. Yeah. No, Nipsey Hussle and Lauryn Hill. And we honoring Lauren London with Nipsey Hussle. We also honoring Bob Marley with Lauryn Hill because of the song that she got with Bob Marley. I'll go to it when I go to their day. All right, so Saturday nights, and I'm just introducing it right now. Now on going forward, we're gonna use some type of media, we're gonna be doing tryouts and all of that to find the individuals that are gonna be singing and performing. All right, and so you got an opportunity to become a real artist in Hollywood studios. Right, this is an economic stimulus in media and recording arts and performance arts on the highest level. All right. So on Saturdays, we're gonna be taking auditions and looking for individuals who could do the tributes to Beyonce and do the tributes to Nas and the tribute to Lauren Hill and the tribute to Nip. All right. Then we're gonna come up with contracts. We're gonna reach out to these artists. We're gonna invite them to receive their award and perform. All right. So Fridays is Mr. and Mrs. Kanisha and Damon, Philadelphia Life, USA, and Beyonce, Yes, and Nas, Alien, Bedrock Nation tribute. So we bringing our whole Alien Nation crew. My wife is the first lady of Alien Nation. All right. So I'm always going to be comparing because you got to have two witnesses. I'm always using the lioness queen, the Holy Spirit lioness queen reference that Beyonce killed on the Lion King soundtrack that she produced. She absolutely killed it. Holy Spirit, she absolutely killed that production. It was a masterpiece. And when I saw that production, everything that I would identify in my bride, Beyonce put down in the music. But whenever you have a lioness, you got to have the Lion King of Kings. And the Lion King of Kings of hip hop is Nas, period, hands down. So I draw the parallel between my wife and Beyonce, number one and number one. and myself and Nas, number one and number one. So Friday, my crew, Alien Nation, along with David Caldwell, who brings the singing element and component of our two institutions, our performance arts and finest arts institutions that we went to, a high school and a college for performance arts and finest arts, Pine Forge Academy and Oakwood University. These institutions have had the best choirs in the world on a high school level and a college level going back decades. And so one of the very first people that we recorded with was David Caldwell and my main man, Joey Kibble from Take Six. Same year we dropped the album, Two Edge Records. David Caldwell was in a group called Chapter 5. My brother PJ was in a group called Connect 5. And my mom had me send both of those albums to her. My mom was the mixtape queen of everything that was coming out of Oakwood and Pine Forge in the arts. And so for David Caldwell to be in who he was at the time and the high level recording that they had going on, and then to put a project together immediately with Dickie, and then follow it up with a project with Joey Kibble, member of Take Six, like something like 13 Grammy Awards. So on Friday, David Caldwell, or better known as Dickie is going to bring the choir element. I've been telling y'all we're going to do a hip hop 40,000 piece symphony orchestra. All right. I'm going to use my right hand man, David Caldwell, to help recruit that orchestra from the phenomenal artists that we have all over the country and the world. And we're just going to ask each and every one of them to send us 5 of their best recommended band members. Each one of these phenomenal groups, some might have more band members. So if somebody only has 2 or 3, then the person that has 7 phenomenal band members will, but that's how we're going to put this thing together. And then, of course, my main man, Spider, rounds out our lineup on Fridays. And now my main man still gets to participate. He should have participated when we first did the All Roads Lead to Nineveh. So All Roads Lead to Nineveh is a spiritual statement. Paul makes it in the New Testament, but God makes this statement through Jonah in the Old Testament. All roads leads to Nineveh means all walks of life. God sent Jonah to Nineveh because Nineveh was Sodom and Gomorrah or Babylon or Egypt or any of the kingdoms that God normally would destroy. But because God knew that there were hearts in Nineveh that could be persuaded to return back to the covenant. And God also is making a statement that they might be participating in stuff that is against God right now, but their whole legacy and their ancestors were never doing this. And just like Abraham, Nineveh got the same opportunity to follow God that Abraham did. And nobody acknowledges this. Abraham was given the opportunity on an individual level. Nineveh, the story of Nineveh is so encouraging. And it's so encouraging because you can stand on, God is a God of judgment. God is a God of commandments and laws and enforcing his commandments and laws. But then when you look at Nineveh, God is a God of mercy. God is a God of second chances. God is and they don't tell that story when they tell Abraham's story. That's what Abraham was in the same predicament that Nineveh was in. But God knew Abraham's family was in the covenant in the ark. And just because him and his immediate family were lost, God said, that's not who this child is. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to come back. Abraham was the individual. Nineveh was the whole nation. And unlike Abraham's children, who kept going back to, once Nineveh got that opportunity, Nineveh never, ever, ever turned back again, just like Adam and Eve. The time at Nineveh is the nation that's identical to Adam and Eve in the beginning. Adam and Eve, God had to come to them because they broke a law. But when God came and God said, okay, now you're going to go through pain and you're going to, once he handed out the punishment, they never, ever violated ever again. Unlike Cain, on the other hand, God kept coming to him. God kept coming to him because he kept violating. God only spoke on violations. He didn't speak once the righteousness happened. So once Nineveh went down the path of righteousness, which Jonah called them to, God never spoke on them again. And that is our message. All roads lead to Nineveh means it don't matter where you are. It don't matter what you're doing. It don't matter whatever. God, heaven is saying that ain't who your ancestors were. You doing that right now. But why don't you come home? Now, the people that don't want to come back to the covenant, that's who Egypt is. That's who Babylon is. Individuals that get the call to come back home, homecoming, and you're like, nah, I'm good. I like what I'm into. That's where you get, I'm going to tread the wine presses of the wrath of God poured out without mixtures. That's where you get revelation. I'm pouring out 7 vials of the 7 last plagues. And that's when you get that. But that ain't God's fault. He gives everybody the opportunity to come back home like the prodigal son. That's what all roads lead to Nineveh means. And then Paul said it in the New Testament. He said, I am all things to all people. He like, God called me and told me to go up here into Europe to the individuals who was participating in the same lifestyle that I was participating in before God came to get me. And he said, when I go over here, I'm all things to all people, that by any means I might save some. That's where Malcolm X got by any means necessary from Paul. I am all things to all people. That's our ministry. But you don't stop telling the world what the commandments are. You don't stop telling the world and standing on the commandments. You don't stop teaching and educating the people and opening the eyes to what is lawlessness and what God hates and abhors, just because God is willing to allow anybody and everybody to come back home and restore them. You still have to tell them the truth and then say, but if you are in a situation where you stumbled and are the lost sheep, then there's the all roads lead to Nineveh path for you to get back to the crib, for you to get back home. On Fridays and Saturday, Alien Bedrock Nation, we lead the world and we remind the world that all roads lead to Nineveh and that we all things to all people, that by any means we might save some. That's why we call lifesavers. All right. And so the individuals that I'm naming are also the individuals that are getting golden scepters. And now we're going to do tributes to. We're going to do a tribute for the contribution of the media that Big Still has given to the world through alienation. And then we're going to put alienation back together. We're going to show y'all. And we're going to perform for y'all. And we're going to put a mic in Big Still hand. And I'm going to jump on the mic with him. And we're going to invite our brothers, David and Spider, to join us in supporting Big Still and Alienation and the body of work that we put down. But also, we're going to give them tributes for their individual work. And we're going to invite them to show the world their bodies of work in their own specific tribute. But at the same time, we're going to ask them to come and help us give a tribute to not just Big Still, my wife too. My wife, once again, she's the queen of alienation. And her contribution to media over the years through Pine Forge Academy and through us can't be quantified either. All right. So let's see who's on Sunday. Who we honoring on Sunday? So tomorrow is Sunday. Also on Saturday, we're going to honor Fred Hammond, Virtue, Take Six. Fred Hammond, Virtue, the women's group Virtue, and Take Six. They get honored every Saturday with Alien Bedrock Nation too. And I believe Donnie McClurkin gets honored on Friday. And it's a set of groups on Friday with Donnie McClurkin too. Okay, so the 25th, tomorrow, Sunday. And every Sunday, this the lineup. Mary J, Method Man, Red Man. Of course I'm saying, when you say Method Man and Red Man, I'm also saying the Woo. Okay. The Locks, and Eve, Mary J, Meth, and Red. And the reason I broke it down to Meth and Redman is because people have always drawn a parallel between me and Still with Meth and Redman. Being that I'm from New Jersey, Redman from New Jersey, and Method Man from New York, Still from New York. And then they had the song Rottweilers. And they had many, many songs, but they had the song Rottweilers. And our movement is the Slumdog Pavillionaires. So it was only fitting to do this Stillborn and RPG reference and Meth and Redman. But we can't leave out Ghostface. We can't leave out Raekwon the Chef. You know what I'm saying? So, but it just wasn't enough space to write all of the names. So I am talking about Ray, Quan, and Ghostface when I'm also talking about Method Man. Alright. Unfortunately, Old Dirty Bastard is not here any longer. So we talking about those specific members of the WOOOO as well. All right. And then Monday is crazy. Monday you get Tupac, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson. What day is Biggie on? Oh, okay. Biggie's on Tuesday. All right. So Tupac, Janet Jackson, and Michael Jackson is on Monday. Monday's huge. All right. Sunday's huge too. So tomorrow, once again, we're going to be doing tryouts for the games. We're going to be doing auditions for the tributes, auditions to be in the movies. We're going to shoot movies throughout this whole joint. A lot of these productions, we're going to do reenactments of the individuals during the time when the albums dropped. And so we're looking for actors and actresses to be able to tell these stories. All right. And so when Sunday comes, we'll be focusing on the people that are getting tribute on Sunday. We're not going to be focused on the people from Monday on Sunday. All right. So this organizes it. And we receive a video submission starting tomorrow, and everything from the cities and towns to all over everywhere. Also, our sponsorship campaign for businesses that want to support the team in your area and then get product placement and get commercial exposure and magazine exposure and all of that. If you want to expand your reach and advertise, then you need to join our sponsorship campaign and our advertising campaign and contribute, and we'll give you your slot. And we'll advertise your company. We'll advertise your company everywhere during the games. So sponsors, cheerleaders, dancers, auditions for cheerleaders and dancers as well begin tomorrow. When I say tryouts, we're going to be doing literal combines at local parks in these specific neighborhoods. And we'll tell you what address in your neighborhood to go to be able to submit and do your audition and be added to the team to begin playing. Okay? So we need to have the teams play games in between now and January 31st so that we could decide which of the teams across the country will be playing in the actual tournament, February 1st through the 14th. Of course, you're not physically coming here to Orlando to the championship. So this means we're going to tell you where gyms where the tournament will be played locally in your area February 1st through the 14th. Of course, the people here in Orlando will play at the gyms here, but the people, nobody's traveling to us in the invitation. We're selecting gyms that you will play in February 1st through the 14th in your regional area. Then once you make the tryouts and all of that, then individuals will receive your brackets and your positioning in the brackets to know when you're playing, what times you're playing, blah, 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 and what location to report to play at. Doing it that way, we get to see way more teams. So in each region, we could have 64 teams start out on February 1st. But by the time you get to the 14th, we're going to have the 4 best teams in that region come out of the tournament. That's how we get down to the 4 teams. You're going to play for 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we're going to go from 64 teams in the region to 4. And those 4 will be invited to play games to see if they can hold the top spot. Now, the other teams will get an opportunity to challenge that. And if you lose all of your games leading up to the championship and somebody else proves that they're better than you, it's no guarantee just because you win the invitational tournament that you're going to be invited to the championship. You got to hold the throne. If you win in the beginning and you hold the throne, you're guaranteed to come to the championship. Make sense? So in each one of these 16 regions, we can potentially have 64, but you might not have 64. You might not get 64 teams to play in every region. You might not only get half of that, and that's okay. Even if it's 10 teams in each region, we cool. All right. So that's all I got for y'all tonight. We'll see y'all tomorrow.